Hey guys, welcome back to Taste of Victory. I'm Tasty RC, and today we're joined by Travis, who could place ninth with his Mega Zoo list at the recent Pro Play Games Regional Qualifier Tournament, 128-person tournament. Travis, you want to go ahead and give yourself a short introduction and then start going through your deck list and choices?
Yeah, sure. How's it going, guys? I'm Travis O'Halloran. As you said, I placed ninth at the recent PVG this past weekend playing Mega Zoo. This is my second top 16 for PVG. I played in the 2200. I think it was a little over a month ago or so. It was back for 1.0, and I played Red Omni before Red Omni was what it is today. So, I guess I should start with my reasoning for playing the deck. I originally was actually going to stick to I'm a red player at heart. So I was originally going to be taking Red Omni into this event, and literally probably about half an hour before the event, I decided to change up my deck list because I didn't feel comfortable going in. I didn't want to run into Shine, and I knew this they're calling it the McDonald's deck because it's red and yellow. So I knew the McDonald's
the
deck was
security
going to
control.
be. Yep. I knew it was going to be everywhere. So I wanted to have something that had a pretty level matchup across the board. So I was like, you know what? I've been playing around with Mega Zoo for a while. I'm going to take this and we'll just see what happens. Mm-hmm. And I honestly didn't expect to get to where I did that day. As far as matchups go, my first round was against Shine Greymon. I drew that match. If I had just a little bit more time, the guy played kind of slow. Mm-hmm. If I had just like maybe a couple more turns, I definitely would have won that. But I ended up with a draw first round. Second round was a McDonald's deck, and I 2-0'd that. The deck, Mega Zoo had no problem with it. I felt completely comfortable during the matchup. I didn't really reach a point where I felt like he was controlling my board. There was one point in the game where he had gotten 3 security guys off of his security, mm-hmm. and I just played a Volk and wiped his board.
Wow.
So awesome. Yeah. So round 3, I played a Mastamon purple deck, or no, it was a yellow Mastamon deck. Sorry, mm-hmm. It was yellow Mastamon, and honestly, this dude played the deck super well. It was one of my favorite matchups that I played that day, and I even got his deck list later on just because it was so intriguing to me how the deck worked, and I 2-0'd that, but the deck itself worked great. He just unfortunately. I think if I remember correctly, he hit a purple card off his TK and was forced to take it, which let me swing for game.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So, as unfortunate as that was, round 4, I believe my round 4 was Sarismon, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. And I 2-0'd that. I think I was done in probably about 15 minutes with that.
Wow.
So, that game went by pretty quickly. I won round 5, which was Purple Lilithmon. Round 6, I played Red Omni.
Yeah.
And that was was it Tyler Sears' his name, I believe. I hope I'm not butchering his last name. But he's a really good red player, and he definitely knew how to play around my combos and everything. So he definitely got. He's my only loss for the entire day. Mm-hmm. So. I lost that round, and then my last round, which was round 7, I played another purple deck, and that literally went down to the wire. Like, that guy played purple very well. So I ended up having, like, double Kaiser Nail during that matchup. Mm-hmm. So it definitely... He had put a bunch of blockers on the board, and I ended up double Kaiser Nailing. I Kaiser Nailed a Skull Greymon out, evolved over, and then Kaiser nailed it again.
Nice. That's a really good combo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I was just gonna ask. Speaking of the Kaiser Nail, what made you choose a blue base Megazoo build with Kaiser Nil in it? Because we see usually like people usually go for red to make sure you always have Gaia Force ready, or yellow for the recovery. What was it about Gaia Force or Kaiser Nil that made you want to build around that?
In all honesty, I had been messing around with Megazoo since 1.0 when it
Mm-hmm.
was, pretty much strictly blue yellow is the way to play it. And I've been keeping up with people who have been dabbling with it. I'd been looking at different lists, seeing which ones were doing well, seeing which ones, didn't perform optimally.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there was a list that popped up. It was about like a week ago, and I had ended up taking it to one of my locals and doing well with it. And it had this blue engine in it, and it's the one that I stuck with.
Mm-hmm.
So I like the fact that you play the VMons in it. Like that was a really cool idea that I thought, and like that was not my idea, so I will not take credit for that. But I like the fact that it always kept my Kaiser nails open, so that I would be able to just abuse Kaiser nail. Because let's face it, Kaiser nail's an abusive card. I would not be surprised if this hits a ban list at some point in time.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I like the whole Demi Vmon combo, because that Vmon is absolutely insane. Just
Mm-hmm.
being able to take chip damage really early. It also provides me with an extra draw if I need it, which Megazoo does not draw that much. So
Right.
you really need to sometimes dig for some of your answers in order to find them. So I like the whole concept of the Demi Vmon with the Vmon, because you get a draw off evolving, you get a draw for swinging, and it's also the Vmon itself is another threat that they have to answer. Otherwise, it's just going to sit there and continue to chip damage off of them,
Yeah.
because it's not going to die to their security.
Right.
So unless it's like a Gaia Force or something like that, and they choose to pop it,
Mm-hmm.
it's essentially a mega in its own right.
Yeah. It's really crazy for a rookie card for sure.
So that's why I went with the blue engine, though, is so that I, even if I was just sitting on an egg, which most of the time is what Megazoo would do, is you'd flip an egg, you'd sit on the egg, and it allowed me to always have the option to play my Kaiser nails without having to splash any like blue megas or anything like that, or ultimates or anything like that into the deck. So
nice.
Yeah. So I guess the other reason why I felt like I didn't need to go with a red egg over a blue is because over half the deck is pretty much red as it is, and most of the time I'm going to be sitting on a Ragna, or there's going to be something red on the board that is stuck to the board at some point. And I also last minute decided to add, I can only make, because like I said, I put my list in probably I was filling it out roughly half an hour before the registration cutoff was done.
Mm-hmm.
And I had already put in my my Omnimon deck. So I switched back, or I was trying to get this all put together and put in before the time cap came out, and I was like, all right, I'm going to try to put in this one copy of Craniumon, because I figured if I went up against red, Craniumon always presents some kind of a problem against red.
Yeah.
And against Rookie Rush, it's just literally a wall.
Yeah, it is.
So
nice.
So between, if I had Craniumon out with like, let's say a Ragna with the blocker guy underneath him, then I'm always going to have a red source there anyway to play Gaia Force. And most of the time, you really don't want to have to hard play Gaia Force. You want to be playing Megas if you can, because that's what the deck's all about.
Yeah. So with that tournament experience and how well Craniumon performed, would you adjust the ratios to increase Crania at all? Or are you happy with the list right now?
Honestly, if I had the time to actually go through and mess around with my numbers and everything, I probably would up Crania to at least 2. The times that I did see it, it did perform well. My other fear and why I just threw in 1 copy of it was because a lot of times with Megazoo, once they realize what you're playing, they're not going to give you more than 1.
Yeah.
Like your memory. And I hate I noticed that when I was playing different variations of it at my locals or anything like that, is that most of the time they'll put you to 1 and then you're stuck having like these like 12s or 13s in your hand that you can't play.
Yeah. Right.
So a lot of the lists I had seen before were playing like or like 3 copies of Machine Dramon. So I ended up just dropping one of those copies for a Craniumon for right now.
Mm-hmm.
I figured, one is a tech in. I didn't think I was going to see as much red as I did.
Mm-hmm.
So I was actually surprised that there were some reds that made it all the way through, because I thought it was just going to be like mainly, Shine, Imperial, McDonald's Control, Rookie Rush. I thought those were going to be the big 4 decks to go in and play.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's really
yeah.
interesting to hear that it's still that popular at the higher level still too. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that definitely threw me off when I ran into it. I was like, oh man. And the one game I didn't even see Crania, and then the game 2 I did see Crania, and he just towered over top of it. He just made it basically pointless to even see it there. So he, like I said, Tyler's a really good red player.
Cool. That's really cool. So what would you say would be the hardest matchup for this deck? Is it that red matchup, or is there another deck?
The red matchup, like we went practically to like, the end state of a game. It wasn't like a blowout type of situation.
Mm-hmm.
It was more the fact of if he had the responses that were necessary, which he definitely did. Like he was getting omnis out there, he was getting security attacks off. It was just, he was very aggressive with his plays, and I think he knew he could be aggressive because it's Megazoo. So as long as you can get over a certain cap, you can afford to be aggressive. And he did play it against me on the one game. He was teching in 1 copy of that War Greymon that shuts off security.
Yeah.
And I believe he hit something in my security one of those games that would have swung the game in my favor. So, it all just boils down to how, like, if you know how to play against it, which he definitely did. So, I definitely tried to cater my list around, like I said before, most of the time people don't want to put you to 12 or 13, so you're stuck. You basically have to look at it as like, okay, this turn I get to play a 10 or I get to play an 11 cost card. And especially if you have to go first too, that was always an issue before. We had so many 10 drop cards now.
Yeah, we do.
You had all these 11s in hand and you couldn't play anything turn 1 to be like, do you have an answer for this? If not, I'm going to punish you for it. So, but now I have 14 copies in here of 10 drops. So I literally saw like maybe 1 or 2 every game. Yeah. There was never a point in which I didn't have a 10 in hand to drop. So, which definitely helps the consistency of the deck, because before the deck was kind of clunky and now it's actually more smoothed out. It didn't feel as clunky, and the VMons kind of helped to flesh that out a little bit as well.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That's really good to know. Okay, very interesting, very insightful. Thanks for that, Travis. Is there anything else you want to add in terms of the deck? Any comments, thoughts, closing thoughts?
Honestly, it's one of those decks that, it's funny. This past event was just a complete showing of, I guess you can call them Make-A-Wish decks type of deals, where they're like, they're in that rogue category, and it's wishful thinking for them to actually perform well and do something. But if this top 16 shows anything, it's that these gimmicky decks, you can't just laugh at them, because there's a point in which, somebody's going to pilot it to a top 16 or to a first place victory. There were so many. I mean, I guess you could say Rookie Rush was kind of that gimmicky type of thing at first. I mean, now it's become more of its own thing. But Megazoo is also in that category, and so is the McDonald's deck. So it's just one of those things you got to keep in the back of your mind, especially when deck building, is that you're going to come up against some of these decks that you never thought that you were going to come up against, and you got to make sure that you remember your rogue matchups when you're deck building. I guess is what I'm trying to get at here.
Yeah.
So, because even like I said, the Mastamon deck that I played in round 3, that guy was good at playing the deck. The deck functioned very well, and it definitely could have seen more play higher up if depending on what his matchups would have been that day. He just happened to run into the one deck that can wall him out.
Right.
So just food for thought, just remember, make sure when you're going through your matchups not to just focus on what is in the big decks like Shine, Turbo Omni, etc. You need to make sure that you're also focusing on the decks that aren't on those top lists that can squeeze in there and sneak out a win.
Yeah, definitely. You gotta be prepared for everything.
So I've noticed definitely absolutely love this card game, especially in the deck building aspect, because there's, by comparison to some other card games, there's so many cards and other card games that just go unused or completely useless when you look at them.
Right.
And in this game, I haven't seen too many. Like, you have some here or there, but I'm pretty sure that in the right setup, they would have some kind of a use at some point.
Yeah, definitely. That's the cool thing about this game for sure. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Travis. That was all really insightful and like a really good deep dive into Megazoo and how it operates, how to play it. Thank you so much for your time. Congratulations again on your 9th place finish. That is super huge and a really good accomplishment. And if there's anything you want to say before we head out, that's great.
No, thank you. I definitely appreciate that you reached out to me to come on here and talk about this. It's really cool. I've been trying to get my name out there and prove myself as a player. Like I said, like we were talking about before before we went live here. I am hoping to start streaming here soon. Always hanging out with Max Tapera in his channel, playing games with him and everything. If anybody who comes here sees this, hasn't checked him out, definitely do so. Great guy, very insightful. I've definitely learned a lot playing with him, and just overall getting better, play testing, practicing. And I guess the only other thing I could really say is that if anybody is, cautious about trying to play in these webcam events or anything like that, you should just kind of go for it, give it a shot. So, I mean, right now it's the only thing we got until live events start, right?
Yeah, basically. All right. Well, thanks so much for those last closing comments, Travis. It was great having you on.
Hey, thank you.
Yep.